G'day YouTube. So this is another video where I'm answering the questions for the members of successcouncil.com. In the link of this description is the video, the unlisted video where they're invited to ask their questions, and you can follow along if you want to go there. So sort the comments by newest first, and then there may be some new ones on top. But so go down to Philip Capra, and we'll start with Philip, and we will get these questions done. So first question is, hey Max, could you please guide me through the steps to claim Bitcoin SV in a safe way? Please note, at the fork, my Bitcoin Cash was in the blockchain wallet and they do not support Bitcoin SV. Thank you. So yeah, it's a very good question. It's a challenging question too. It's a complicated issue. So if you've owned Bitcoin for a very long time, what happens is every now and again, a group of developers will say, we think Bitcoin should change its code in some way and go in this direction. And the rest of the community does not agree with them. So they do what's called a fork. The Bitcoin chain splits in two. And so there's the main group, and then there is a little side off group. Now this has happened about 20 or 30 times. So there's like 20 or 30 side chains of Bitcoin little side projects. Now what they do is when they fork that, they become their own separate animals, but your wallet, the private key to your wallet, works on all of the different coins. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your private key from your normal Bitcoin wallet. Now, you got to be very careful about this. Your private key, remember, is the keys to the kingdom. That's the keys to all your Bitcoins. So you want to be careful not to do it in such a way that the private key to your main Bitcoin wallet is somehow put on the internet, you store it somewhere, you enter it somewhere in trying to get the new forked coin, and unknowingly what you've done is you've pushed out your private key to some hacker, someone who can steal your real Bitcoins. So you want to slow down, be very careful, very methodical about this. But it is free money, so you want to go ahead and claim it too. I get that. Now I've got all these alternate coins out there that I've never gotten to get, but it is on my to-do list to do it. But before you do it, the safest thing you can do, create a new wallet. If you're using a Trezor or a Ledger, you don't have to go and buy a new one, but you can just create a new wallet with the Trezor or Ledger. And what you do is you send your Bitcoin from that wallet to the new wallet. Do all the normal things you would do, back up the new wallet, take all those necessary precautions, do those things as well. And you send your Bitcoin from your existing wallet to a brand new wallet. Now, when you go and you start fishing around for your private keys and you start trying to claim all these other coins, if someone gets your private key, they have the private key to an empty wallet because you've moved all your Bitcoins over to this wallet, okay? So the next step you want to do is you want to go, what's the next most valuable coin? And the way to do that is, let's go to coinmarketcap.com. And what we'll see here, so we've got Bitcoin is the most obvious. Then we've got Bitcoin Cash. After Bitcoin Cash, we've got Bitcoin SV, and so on and so on. So what you want to do is you want to get your Bitcoin Cash. You've now potentially exposed your private key to the world in transferring Bitcoin Cash. So now what you want to do is you want to move your Bitcoin Cash to another Bitcoin Cash wallet, then go down the line to Bitcoin SUV. Move it, use your original private keys to move it, and then go down and claim your next coin. And in doing that, you're exposing yourself in the least possible way. Now, as we see back here, I've given you a link to this comment. So this is, if you want to find this is a response to Philip's Linger, and there is an open source script which does all this for you. It's in GitHub, it is open source, it has been peer reviewed. I have not used it, but from what I understand, it's a good script which will go ahead and do all this in a very efficient way. And it'll help you claim all your other coins. And there are about 30 other coins to claim. Once you've claimed all those other coins, then you can go online, sell them, convert them back to Bitcoin or some other coin or whatever it is you want to do. Very high level stuff, guys. If you want to generally, if you're holding something that forks, and Ethereum has forked, and other coins will fork, and there'll be more forks coming up in the future. If you're holding a coin that forks, as a general rule, almost always the one with a higher market cap is going to win. So let's say they split and you got Bitcoin with a market cap of like 100 million and then Bitcoin Cash with a market cap of 1 million. You can almost bet your life on it that eventually this Bitcoin Cash is going to get very, very small. It's not going to grow as fast as the Bitcoin mainnet. The one with the bigger market cap is almost always going to grow faster. So in the future, when that happens, if you just purely from a money point of view, now from an ideological point of view or for some other reason you might agree with the developers who forked, that's a different thing. But from a monetary point of view, you're almost always going to want to sell relatively quickly. Within the first few months is the time you get the best price possible, usually, of the forked coins. That's a good question, Philip. Carlos. Hello, Max. First, thanks for all your time, information, and training you're providing. I'm in the same scenario situation you mentioned toward the end of the Great Wealth Transfer webinar 2020. We have a mortgage currently in arrears, and I'm ready to just throw in the towel and let the bank just take it. Hopefully I can turn things around. I've bought crypto and currently have about $10,000 cash in reserve, trying to decide if I pay off the mortgage in arrears or go for more crypto and precious metals. Hey Carlos, yeah, it's a great question. Again, there's just a million things I'd need to know about your situation in order to have even an opinion. And even once I had an opinion, I wouldn't be able to give it to you because I'm not licensed in order to do those things. But I'll tell you some of the things I would be considering. Tax consequences. If the bank, there may be some tax consequences to going through this foreclosure, i.e. tax benefits, meaning assuming you're having some kind of income over here, if you lose your house, you may get some tax benefits to that. Check with your accountant, which might mean you pay a lot less tax, income tax. That's something to consider. Next, you've got something to consider of your credit rating and the long-term consequences of defaulting. Can you maybe do a short sale, which is much better on your credit rating than just letting the bank foreclose on you? So things like that. Trying to protect your credit rating, and if you end up deciding to walk away from the house, that's something you want to investigate. Can you do that? Can you negotiate with the bank in some way to maybe give them a small concession if they don't damage your credit rating, something like that. And then next, the decision of whether or not to let the house go and put what you can into crypto. I mean, this is a judgment call. You have to make the decision. Do you think crypto is going to go up significantly more or real estate is going to go up significantly more in conjunction with all these other questions? My personal opinion is that crypto is going to do much better over the next year or two than real estate, but I don't even know what country you're in, what city you're in, or anything else like that. These are decisions you're going to have to make, but they're the things that I would be thinking of, Carlos. Thank you so much for asking the question. Hi, Max. Thanks again for this opportunity to ask questions. What are you doing at this time with your currency generating assets? Are you cashing them out or restructuring the debt? Yeah, look, so let's just take, for example, let's say you have a piece of real estate, you're renting it out, it's cash flowing for you, it's generating currency for you. What are you doing with that? And again, I had several of them. I sold several of them. I thought it was too much exposure to real estate. I didn't want that. I've kept a handful of houses that I rent out. Even the house that I'm in right now, I'm only renting. I don't own this. The houses that I own are low end, nothing that I would live in. But it's just some exposure to real estate. There's a lot of cool tax advantages you get just for owning a few pieces of rental income, rental property income. So I want to keep those for the tax benefits is one of my considerations. On the debt side, I haven't worried about restructuring the debt, but that's a great idea. Interest rates have come down. I think they're going to come down more. But yeah, if you've got some high interest debt and you can restructure it, that's a fine idea too. And cash flow is a great thing. If these things are cash flowing and you can keep it, that is a good thing. You're just weighing that up against the pros and cons, getting cash out, paying whatever tax consequences there are on getting out of that piece of real estate, and then put it into real estate, and then put it into Bitcoin if that's what you're considering, and then what are your expected returns on those two things. A lot of things to think about, but there's something that only you can think about. I'm just telling you the things that the type of things that I would think about. Hey, thank you. I've sold my apartment to a developer and at a premium. Unfortunately, it doesn't settle until the end of next year. They are fighting land environment in court to stop heritage. I'm trying to sell earlier lawyers doing letter for developer to sign for a new purchaser subject to the deed. Based on your advice, I don't want my asset in real estate even at the end of next year. Basically selling at market and new buyer subject to the deed. New buyer can pick up 10% if the development approved. They will be out of the 12. Sorry, that was really hard to follow, Andrew. But anyway, there's no question here. So there's no question here. But Andrew, it sounds like you're doing some fun, creative things with real estate, and that's cool. I understand your reservation. The developer is supposed to buy that. He's got a contract to buy. You have some kind of a deposit, hopefully. Hopefully you are in a stage when it is a non-refundable deposit. If for any reason the developer cannot settle, hopefully you get to claim a significant deposit. Because if he wants to lock up your piece of real estate for 1.5 years, he should have provided you with a significant piece of a non-refundable deposit. Hopefully you negotiated that. And that can offset that significantly. Like, that's taking away your risk. Like, if you think you're in probably the Midwest, probably this property might go down like 20-30% if in the next major crash. If you're in like Florida or Nevada or New York or San Francisco or Los Angeles, that thing might go down 50-60%. So maybe your 10-20% deposit doesn't sound so good anymore. So there's a lot of things to consider here, and you didn't actually ask a question, but I think you're doing some advanced stuff, and I think you're thinking of the right things. Hi Max, thanks for the invaluable information. Are there any exchanges that don't have KYC, or are there some known strategies to avoid it? I have never trusted banks and always keep my savings in cash. I don't want to alert the government to my transactions. Hey Jacob, look, wise choice. Look, a full proper definition of an exchange, no. Any significant exchange is going to be KYC, AML, or they just governments will come and hurt them, shut them down, do bad things. So I'm unaware of any exchanges. However, peer-to-peer is an interesting play. What I would do is I would go on localbitcoins.com, and there you have lots of individuals who are just they kind of just an individual operating from their home, operating as an exchange. But it is somewhat risky in that you have to wire them money and hope they send you the Bitcoin. However, there are accounts there that has a review and profiling system. Some people have got 1,000, 10,000 transactions and 100% satisfaction of people saying yes, that I sent them the money and they sent me the cryptocurrency back. And so people are very protective of their rating and their status. So they don't want to rip anyone off. So there is a little bit of extra risk, I would say, in working with local Bitcoins, but it is a risk that you can mitigate. And it is something that I would start with small amounts first, just acquire a little bit. It doesn't cost you anything to do, $100,000 transactions instead of one $100,000 transaction. So use local Bitcoins, do it in small amounts, especially until you get confident with a particular person. And once you feel confident that they are treating you right, you have gone with them a few times, you might want to start stepping up the transaction size. But if you use localbitcoins.com, what the government and all the agencies will see is you wiring money from someone to another person. Pardon me. They will see you wiring money from someone to another person, but what that is for, no one knows. So that's why it's a significant step in the right direction of KYC. Hi Max, I am starting a precious metals portfolio from scratch. I have $4,500 to invest, so here are my questions. Would you only purchase silver right now due to the high gold-silver ratio, or do you believe it is important to have some gold in your portfolio at all times? No, with $4,500, yeah, with $4,500, I would probably go all silver. One of the cool things with gold is it's very small. It's like one coin, you got $1,500, or $2,000, I should say now. One coin and you got $2,000. That's pretty cool. You put that in your pocket, no one even knows you've got it. You got $2,000 worth of silver, and now you're carrying around something that's quite heavy. If you ever get patted, frisked, like something like that, people are going to feel it. So the only reason for gold at these gold-silver ratios really is that one that I just mentioned. Other than that, I would be all in on silver. Since I'm purchasing such a small amount, should I keep it all at home and wait to have it in a vault? Yeah, for that amount, I wouldn't pay the expense of having a vault. I would keep it at home, try and make sure don't tell anybody about it ever. And yeah, I would just keep it at home. I'm thinking to buy one 100-ounce bar and divide the remaining 1,500 into Eagles 10-ounce bars. and waiting to purchase gold when the ratio comes down. That seems reasonable to me. I'm really stuck on this. I know it seems like a small amount of money, but it took me quite a while to save things up, and I want to make a wise purchase. Thank you for your help. Yeah, I get that. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter what your level is when you're just doing your first purchase. Just, am I going to make a mistake and cost myself a lot of money? No, I feel like you're thinking all the right things. You're asking all the right questions, and yeah, I think like you're in a good spot. So no red flags there from me. You got a good strategy, and I think it'd be good to go ahead and get involved. Marcus, hi Max. My question is what is the most likely outcome for the economy in the next few years? Depression, stagflation, or hyperinflationary depression? Thanks for your insight. So yeah, so what you're asking me to do is predict what the Federal Reserve is going to do, and are they going to print more money or not? Because yes, we know that the system is horrifically unstable. They can either there's going to be a huge, massive wave of defaults, or which means just a straight up depression. Or what it's going to do is the Federal Reserve is going to print, pay off all those debts, but doesn't solve any of the problems. And then in a few years, they're going to print some more, and it'll print some more, and print some more, and you go into hyperinflation. So of all those scenarios, I think hyperinflation, sadly, is the best. It's also the worst outcome, but it's also the most likely outcome. And that's just because in the history of the world, when governments have access to a fiat currency, they print it into oblivion. They've never not done it. So I think they're going to do it again this time, sadly. What's your recommendation for the best platform to purchase a decent sum, approximately 6 Bitcoin worth, of BTC in the US? KYC is okay, looking for best rates, lowest fees. So I think, someone told me that Kraken's rates were really high. When I deal with Kraken, I do what's called over-the-counter. It's for larger transactions. But maybe they've given me incredible rates and almost no fees, but maybe that's because it's the higher amount. Maybe at the lower end, it's possible that their fees are really high. I haven't investigated that. If that's the case, I think Coinbase is pretty reasonable. So, but I would start with Coinbase and Kraken. Those two seem to be the two most reasonable. Yeah, and I've met the CEO of Kraken, Jesse. I've met him a few times. Years back, and he just seemed like a really good guy. And every time I've ever spoken to him, he's always had a very big picture view with regard to his exchange. He was always a little more cautious, a little more long-term view, a little more treat your customers right. And so I found it hard to believe when someone told me there was like to buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, there's like a $300 fee to use Kraken. And I just found that really, really hard to believe. But I didn't investigate it, and it could be true, which to me is extraordinarily high, and I don't think that's what Kraken would do. But that's what I heard, so check it out. Kraken and Coinbase, I think, if you're in the US, are the two that I would go with. Hey Max, so my question has to do with the relationship between cryptocurrencies and the Federal Reserve banks. If the Fed can just print money out of thin air, what is stopping them from flooding the crypto market and essentially manipulating it, just like they do the stock market? So the primary way in which well, that's not true. They can't. So if they want to print a whole bunch of money and buy up a whole bunch of Bitcoin, then so be it. They're going to make the price of Bitcoin skyrocket. I don't know. That's all they can do with it. They can buy it and then sell it and try and short it and back and forth and back. They can do all these things. But I think ultimately you're talking about a tsunami of interest in cryptocurrency coming over the next couple of years, and they can't short it and destroy it like they have many other asset classes. It's just, they can't. Hi Max, my name is Dan. I just made $17,000 profit on precious metals on Jeff's advice. Well played. If I cash in my profit, I will pay a gains fee. I'd like to relocate to, we've had this question before. I answered it in the last video. I prefer to not cross the borders with precious metals. Is it possible to purchase Bitcoin or Monero with the PM rather than cash? No, to my knowledge, there's nowhere, unless you find a private individual, there's no exchange which will accept the metals for Bitcoin. But we're only talking about $17,000 worth, perhaps, no. Localbitcoins.com used to have a feature where you could actually find a person in your local city and go and meet them. The other thing you can do is go to meetups. If you're in a big city especially, and you go to like a cryptocurrency meetup, Just go to where do the meetup? Like meetup.com is what it's called. If you go to a meetup, you very well might likely find someone who is willing to meet you there the next week with precious metals in exchange for Bitcoin. So that's another good way for these like small amounts. It's another good way to kind of get your hand, just trade without anyone knowing. Hi Max, thanks for your input and perspective. Harry Dent is being pretty vocal here in Australia at the moment, and my question is in regards to Harry's argument that we will not see inflation, hyperinflation in the near future because the expansion of the monetary system is predominantly being kept within Wall Street and the banking system, i.e. all of this extra money is not flooding down to the people. This is Harry's main argument about why gold, silver and Bitcoin prices will drop in a deflationary way and not explode as many anticipate. Do you see all this extra money being created eventually reaching Main Street where we will experience high inflation, or will the IMF, reserve banks around the world find a way to get all this extra money off their books to lessen the impact of what goes on? So I have a very easy way to answer this. Let's do this. And actually, I'm going to teach you guys like a thing here. So on my, what are we doing here? youtube.com/success council. This is my channel. Another way for you to get there is to just, in this video, just below this video, you'll see my head, my icon, Contrarian dude. If you just open that in a new tab, you'll come to this same page here. And my internet is really slow right now. And here's what you can do. If you're on my channel and you come over here and see this magnifying glass, it's definitely there on desktop. I'm not sure if they have it on mobile, but it's definitely there on desktop. Click on this magnifying glass, and what you're doing is you're searching my channel. Go in here and type Dent, and I have a video here. I'm sorry, my internet's so slow at the moment, but I have an interview here, a video here called Peter Schiff, Harry Dent, Mike Maloney, Who is Right? And it's a 26-minute video, and it's me teaching you what all three of their strategies are, what their arguments are, and which I think is right and which I think is wrong and why. And while I'm here, guys, I want to teach you this channel is like 7 or 8 years old or something, and there's so many videos here teaching you so many things. I mean, let's just say it's like, I don't know, and we got the election coming up, so there's all these issues. So let's say minimum wage. So my recording just cut out, which I did not realize until I got to the end of answering everybody else's questions. So I've had to come back to this point, and I've got to do it all twice, which is making me sad, but we will do it. So, sorry. So minimum wage. You want to understand about minimum wage? Here, the reality of minimum wage. You want to understand issues like bailouts. The ugly truth about bailouts. There's all these different things, issues. So let's get rid of that. George Floyd. So yeah, now we know that George Floyd, he didn't actually die with the police. He was put in the ambulance alive. They took blood from him alive, gave him a blood test. He was in the possession of the ambulance and hospital for an hour before he died, and then he died of a drug overdose. But this, I recorded this video just a few days after the incident, and of course I didn't know any of this then, but I talked about all the different ways that this could go down. I took the one example, like, okay, it's a crazy racist cop out to kill somebody. Let's have a look at that example, analyze that. Another example, this is a cop, good cop, just trying to do his job. Every day he's harassed by people, freaking out, druggies carrying on like crazy people, and just day after day, and he says, you've got to protect yourself or else you die on your job, because some crazy druggie is going to pull out a gun and shoot you. And so you learn to be very, very strong very quickly, and you learn to be heavy-handed, or else you'd be dead within 3 months on the job. And I went through all the different scenarios of the way this might turn out. And this discussion was there on my YouTube account a few days after. So I don't know, no one else was talking about this stuff. It was all just assumed that it was a racist incident, despite the fact that there was no evidence of racism. Now, even if it went down as horribly as we first thought, he could have been just an evil guy who wanted to kill anybody, let alone a racist issue. So we didn't know any of this stuff, but I talked about it all there in this video. So there's political stuff there. There's economic things. What else is there? We've got an election coming up. So election issues. Like you want to type in immigration. Immigration. You come in here and you get the full, several videos on all the different types of immigration issues that came up. We can do, let's see, tax issues. We talk about Laffer curve. We talk about the ideology and the principles of tax. And so there's just so many different things that you can learn here on this channel. But you got to come to don't type it in the YouTube up here. You'll just get anybody's answer. Come to the channel first, click on the magnifying glass, and then type in, you'll just search this channel. Okay, let's head back and see if I can catch up where we were up to. That's going to make it easier. So I think we just answered Carlos's question here. But in answer to the question, Carlos, I think Harry Dent is wrong. I think there is another big crash going to happen. It's going to look like he's going to be right, but then there's going to be all the money printing in the world is going to come, and then we're going to go into the hyperinflation. So, and the reason I think he's wrong is that no government ever in history, actually, let me start a different way. All of the economic indicators Harry Dent points to, I agree with, and I think everything about the economy wants to go through a deflation. However, no government ever in the history of the world that has had access to a fiat currency has not printed it to oblivion and caused hyperinflation. I don't think this will be any different, sadly. Okay, what are your thoughts on the likelihood of a central bank controlled digital currency being introduced to replace fiat when it collapses? And if so, would it be good or bad for Bitcoin? It's a possibility, but it's not going to be bad for Bitcoin, but it could be good for Bitcoin. Anyone who's into Bitcoin understands the reasons why Bitcoin is good and why fiat currency is bad. You don't get into it unless you understand that at least. Any digital currency the central bank comes up with is going to have the exact same problems. They can create it, they can control the supply, they can increase the supply, decrease the supply. It's all got all the same problems. It's not going to hurt any Bitcoin users, and people are going to be very mistrustful of central banks, and so it's not going to trick any Bitcoin users, that's for sure. However, it may get people used to managing their own wallets, having money on their phone, things like that, which would make the learning curve for people getting into Bitcoin a lot less because they would already be used to it. So I think it can only be a good thing, not a bad thing for Bitcoin. Hi Max, I live in Melbourne, Australia and do not want to get vaxxed or chipped or tagged or take testy big pharma drugs, but I do not want to leave the country. Do I know anywhere in Oz that is not forced to be chipped? The answer is no, I don't understand that. I don't know anywhere in Australia. If you're in Australia, you're going to be subject to Australia rules. By the way, for the rest of the world who's watching this, how embarrassingly pathetic and weak Australia is just breaks my heart. It's like 3 people get sick and they shut down the country. It's just, they're weak. They're weak and pathetic and they're sheep. And it saddens me how bad it is in America. But at least a good half of the country thinks that this is stupid in America. In Australia, it's like maybe 2% of the country thinks it's stupid. That's why I live in America. The highest concentration of freedom-loving people in the world is here. And at the very least, they are going to, if they tried this, like mandatory vaccine, all this kind of chipping people, there would be huge pushback here. And that's why I choose to live in America over anything else. Hey Max, have you heard of Jazara and Nazara? The argument that there's a global currency reset coming and it's going to be, the new system will be backed by gold. Trump and the white hats are behind this and they're trying to bring in a new quantum financial system. Do you know anything about this? Is there any truth to it? I don't. I would love to think it's true. I haven't heard of it. I've heard it once or twice, but I haven't got any kind of research or detail on this. I am somewhat hopeful that Trump is anti-Fed. He just can't say it. A couple of data points for that. In 2012, during the Republican debates, he tweeted out that Ron Paul has a lot of brilliant ideas and we need to listen to him, or something to that effect. Then his own tweeting now as president, he's criticized the Fed a lot. And not in the ways that we'd like, and not in the ways of, in fact, he's calling for more of what we don't like. But he is just brilliant at marketing. He is brilliant at framing the conversation in a way that the average person can understand. And so I am hopeful that he is anti-Fed, but that may be me looking through rose-colored glasses. I'm not entirely sure. So I opened a Kraken account and funded it at $2K to test out this stuff. And I bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. However, Kraken charged him $281 fee. And it's like, what the hell? I can't believe their fees are so high. It turns out that only, what is it? The fees for Kraken are quite high unless you're in the big end of town. It's a flat fee of $281, whether you do a $1,000 transaction or a $100,000 transaction. I didn't know that. I've only ever done with a big end of town, and the fees seem insignificant to me. So that surprises me. Thank you for that, Greg in Florida. And so if you're going to do small amounts, Kraken is not a good option for you. Hi, Max. Thank you so much. One, what do you think about stock market long investing for gold, silver miners? TDV has a great portfolio. How come you are not in those things? There's no reason I'm not into miners. Miners might be a good thing, but there's just a lot of risk in there. There's still companies. They can go bankrupt. There can be supply chain issues. There can be money issues. They can run out of money. There can be incompetent management. There's jurisdiction issues. It's like you own a great mine, but that country nationalizes you wherever the mine is, and so it's just a whole bunch of risk. And maybe there's some more reward there, but I don't even. I didn't get involved in it. It's just too hard and too risky for me. But I'm not against it in principle. It could be a good option. Do you think they'd be super impacted by COVID? It is possible, and in fact, I know portions of the supply chain have been cut off, and I know some mines have closed down because of COVID. So that's a thing. What do you think of Exodus Wallet? I haven't used it. And what do you think of rare numismatics coins? I don't buy numismatics. I do buy bullion. And I don't know why, but it looks like you wrote more, but there is no more for me to click. And so this has been cut off. So I'm sorry, Lotus, I wasn't able to answer this. Can you please guide me in the process of claiming my registered EOS tokens? No, I can't. It would be, I don't even know, thousands of dollars per hour to get me to do that. And I wouldn't enjoy it, so I wouldn't even do it for that. So I don't do one-on-one coaching is what I'm getting at. But I can tell you this. EOS has a great community of people who will be happy to help you. If you go to Reddit, you just Google Reddit EOS, you'll go to the EOS subreddit, whole bunch of people there who will help you out, let you know. And I guarantee millions of people have done this already, and they'll just send you a link that will walk you through it step by step. Max, in your webinar from last year, you predicted the 2020 Corona crash. I predicted a crash, I didn't know it would be a Corona crash. You were early by a few months. Based on the fact that the second crash and the dead cat bounce would end up close to this year's election, has your thinking changed? I asked that because in your last Q&A, you were suggesting to get into BTC now rather than wait. I know some are suggesting a market melt up. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. There's a lot there, but okay. Actually, let me do a quick scan here for question marks. Oh, there's another question mark. All right. Hang on, I'll read this. History leads me to believe that the second stock market crash is coming, which will be worse than the March. Yes. If that's the case, wouldn't it make sense to allocate more to fiat and wait until after elections rather than making a big investment in Bitcoin now? So, yes. I can't, because I've had to go back and I've lost a lot of the things I've said. I'm not sure what I've said and what I haven't said. So I'll say it one more time. If you don't have any crypto or any precious metals, I would be extremely nervous and I would go and buy some immediately. If I had $10,000 to invest in this, I'd probably go and buy $5,000 right now. And I would save $5,000 for what I think there is one more big crash coming. It will affect stock market, it will affect precious metals, and it will affect cryptocurrency, I believe. And they'll go down significantly. I would jump into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and precious metals at the bottom, and they will rebound first, I believe. Stock market and real estate will continue low and probably even go lower still. So, but I could be wrong. And so to sit around with your fiat and you didn't do anything and Bitcoin's worth 30 grand in 3 months, and you'd be like, that idiot Max told me there'd be another big dip, and that big dip never came. So it's a tough situation. If you've got plenty of crypto, I'm holding on to a bit of fiat right now because I want to buy a big amount on the next dip. If you don't have that, I would get some now because I would be terrified not to have any. When do you think we should get completely out of the dollar? Just answered that question. It's a good question, by the way. I've already answered it. Is buying a house right now a good thing, okay thing, or a bad thing? Is there anything I should know about buying a house for the longer term? Generally speaking, I think it's a bad thing. If you're going to do it in a place that traditionally doesn't get hit too hard when things go down. So if you're in America, the Midwest only went down by about 20% in 2008 compared to like Florida, California, and Nevada. They went down 30 to 50, 60%. So go buy it in a place where it's not going to go down too much, and buy in a place that cash flows very well. Hi Max, having just subscribed and living in the UK, I'm seeking advice on reputable precious metals companies. Can you recommend in the UK? No, I've never bought in the UK, so I can't recommend any. However, I can teach you how to fish here. I'm assuming the UK is similar to America and other countries. Just look up coin shops. There's always going to be some kind of like a collectible store that has collectible coins, collectible stamps, collectible stuff. Those places generally will sell you gold and silver bullion as well. You don't want the numismatics, you don't want the collectibles, you just want the bullion. They usually will do it. If not, they will probably be able to direct you into somebody else in your city that you can go and do that. If not that, there will probably be an online e-tailer who you can wire them money and they can ship precious metals to your door. You just got to Google that and find that for yourself. Jacqueline, what is going to happen when the banks come up with their own cryptocurrency? Will they also allow Bitcoin as a transaction? And will this affect the different cryptos? Look, things are going to happen. Will it devalue Bitcoin? Things are going to happen. I think governments are going to attack you. And like, look at Venezuela. Like when things got really bad there and they were going into hyperinflation, it became illegal to mention the inflation rate. So yeah, they're going to ban cryptocurrencies and ban precious metals. They might ban everything. They might ban breathing. Like that's how moronic and crazy these things get. But eventually people just ignore the laws. Black markets are developed and you will be able to use your Bitcoin. Don't worry about it. Dear Max, thank you for the video and a chance to ask. With Amazon already applying to have their own cryptocurrency, is this going to have any influence on Bitcoin? Exact same thing. No. If the US goes into civil war and with many businesses being infected by coronavirus, will I be able to use Bitcoin to buy a grocery store? You might need a few steps. You might need to change your Bitcoin into fiat or change it into precious metals. But you're going to be able to use crypto. There might be extra steps. The black market, if it gets to it, the black market will solve the problem. If not, the white market will be able to solve the problem just like today, and even better solutions. No problem. Don't worry about being able to use your Bitcoin. I've invested a few tens of thousands of pounds in crypto thanks to an inheritance with Coinbase, and they're now asking me very, very annoying questions like, why was I holidaying in Morocco? How do they know you were holidaying in Morocco? That's just creepy. They want to see 3 months of bank statements. They're getting all up in my grill. This worries me. Is it right? Am I worrying over nothing? So no, I hate this. It's disgusting. It's an invasion of privacy. It's absolutely brutal and I hate it. You're not wrong to worry about it. What should you do? First question, ask them and say, hey, if I don't answer these questions and you close my account, can I still get my Bitcoin? Or are you just not going to let me buy or sell with you ever again? If that's the case, then you might want to choose. There's lots of other, what are they called? Exchanges. There's lots of other exchanges. Just go and buy and sell from them. Sorry, I had a panic that something was wrong and I'm going to have to redo this for a third time. But no, my microphone's plugged in and working and we're still good. Okay. Now, if they say, no, we're not giving you your Bitcoin if you don't answer the questions, well, I would answer the questions and get my tens of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin out from them and then tell them to go F themselves. But there's lots of other Bitcoins exchanges around, and if you just want to go and move to one of the others, you can go ahead and do that too. Or if you're not inconvenienced by it and don't mind doing it, then answer all their questions and you can keep them. It's your choice. But it is so gross and yucky. I hate the fact they don't want to do it. It's not Coinbase. It's the government that makes them do it. It's not their fault. It's a huge cost and expense to them that we as customers of Coinbase have to pay. Thanks, Max. You make it so easy to understand and move forward. Really appreciate you sharing all of that you've learned and I am continuing to learn. Well, thank you, Rhythm. Hi, Max. Thanks for the video. Do you think this global buy-in is going to hit Australia as we have an investment property funded 100%? and it's suitable for tax purposes. The property has been negatively geared, and your thoughts. Yeah, so for those of you, the Australian real estate market has been immune. Give me a moment. The Australian stock market has been immune to the last like 2 recessions in the real estate market. It's just been a 30-year bull market in Australia. The reason being, it's close to Asia. There's just half the population lives in 2 cities, like Melbourne and Sydney, almost half. And you've got in between India, China, and the other countries, you've had 2 billion people lifted up out of poverty in the last 2-3 decades. At the moment anyone in any of those countries gets a little bit of money, the first thing they want to do is move to Australia, have their kids go to good schools in Australia, get some wealth out of those countries because they're worried about the government's confiscating their money. And so just Australia's just had a huge windfall as a result of Asia's success over the last few decades. Having said that, I think Asia's going to get hit hard again, and I think Australia will get hit pretty hard in their real estate. Having said that, Sydney and Melbourne, just 2 of the most brilliant and amazing cities anywhere in the world. So I'm Sydney. I think it's way better. So beautiful, so gorgeous. The harbour, the waterways, everything. I'm going to buy a house there after this next crash. So you will see some people all over. It's a very desirable place for people to come from all over the world. So, you know, it might be, but it's a tough one to know. But I think it's going to get hit pretty hard, just like everywhere else. I read that one. Let me kill this. If the economy here in the US completely collapses, do you believe that there is a chance that the government will confiscate everyone's gold holdings and make crypto illegal? Why not? Yes, it absolutely could be. The lengths that desperate governments go to retain power knows no bounds. They're the guys with the guns and they do bad stuff. But eventually people just have to ignore it and you have to get onto the black market. If it goes full tyrannical like in Venezuela, you just have to, that's what everyone does there, you just have to operate on the black market because or else you starve to death. So does it eventually get there? Yeah, it does. But it just doesn't change anything. Your Bitcoin and your precious metals will be worth something and their fiat will not if it gets to that. What requirements or qualifications will there be to borrow in order to purchase cheap real estate when the debt-fueled bubble crashes? The banks aren't going to loan money to just anyone to make those purchases. So yes, you can't. So even right now, banks are restricting their lending practices. They used to lend to people with a FICO score over 450, 500. They used to lend to people with only a 5% deposit. A lot of banks now are only lending to people with a FICO score over 700 and with a 20% deposit. So they've already started to make it very hard. You can help yourself by improving your FICO score. I do a little bit of a thing where I pay myself a salary. So I'm a boring, simple W-2 employee. Because if you own a company, it's just extra headaches. It's just annoying. So I actually do this thing where a company that I'm not a shareholder of actually pays me a salary and I look like a boring W-2 employee with a nice high income. It's not the best tax-wise, but it's going to give me a couple of years of history of being a highly paid W-2 employee. I take very good care of my FICO score and I'm helping myself in that way. You guys can do the same thing. Hi Max, do you see a quantum computing as a threat to cryptocurrency? In Australia, do you have any recommendations for the best exchange to cash out of crypto? I don't know which exchanges to use in Australia. About 5 years ago, I told a few friends to use Bitfinex in Singapore. It worked really well, but I don't know any extra Australian exchanges. The market's a lot more mature now than back then. Quantum computing is no threat to cryptocurrency. It's already designed in mind. If quantum computing comes along, the algorithms just automatically adjust to be way harder. So you still have to use the same amount of computing electricity, even though the processes are much more efficient. Make sense? Okay, thanks Max. Sorry, why is my face got all crazy itchy? Sorry guys, I've been here for like nearly 2 hours now because I've answered all the questions one time, had to go back, do it twice, and so now I'm like a little bit woozy and I should have had a little bite to eat or something in between. But I will push through. I have an investment property in Queensland, Australia. I have $200,000 offset account. The mortgage is $400 per month and the rental income is $1,900 a month. I'm hesitating to sell with this good cash flow, but I'm also thinking about selling and buying gold and crypto. So that is a great cash flow. I highly recommend if you're going to be owning real estate right now, have great cash flow like Steve has here. And that is hard to walk away from. You got this nice piece of real estate there It's putting money in your pocket every single month. I like that. So there's things to consider. Tax consequences in Australia. You've got stamp duty. Getting in and out of real estate is a huge headache. And also, what's your current portfolio? Is it all your wealth in this particular piece of real estate? That would bother me a lot. I would definitely want some in crypto and gold. My first protocol maybe would be to use my offset account if you still have funds available, is to use that, and then you're going into debt to buy Bitcoin and precious metals. I would buy not a huge amount. Like if you, let's say you got $200,000 available to you with this line of credit in America, they call it offset account, they call it in Australia, maybe only $60,000, $70,000 worth, then I've got a lot of margin. If I need to hold for a long time, I can. But I would definitely want some exposure to crypto or Bitcoin right now. Or you can go all the way and sell it, which that's one of your options. But there is tax consequences. You're losing the cash flow. You've got the stamp duty of getting in and out. So there's a whole bunch of things there. I can't make the decision for you, but I would find some way to get precious metals and crypto. Hi Max, from Oz, need some guidance with purchasing gold and silver in Singapore. Can you buy from Silver Direct from Singapore and then set up the account with the link to Singapore to commence this process? Yes, I've already answered this here the first time I answered it. silverbullion.com.sg. I'm 99% sure that's the URL, but the company is called Silver Bullion. They are in Singapore. You can just wire them money and they put it in segregated storage for you there. I have metals stored there. The CEO's name is Gregor Gregerson. There's an interview with him in the Success Council members area, and a really good company. I highly recommend it. I've toured the facility. It's really cool. Is bullionvault.de secure? I'm not familiar with that one, sorry. I have some silver in Zurich Vault. Can you trust them? I'm unfamiliar with Zurich Vault, so I can't say anything bad about them. But in the members area, in the investing in gold and silver, there is a storage cheat sheet. And so in Switzerland, I use Global Gold. Silver Bullion, here's who I use in Singapore. And this is a cheat sheet with a few different options from a few different countries, okay? So you can check that out, storage cheat sheet inside the investing in gold and silver and white section in the members area. I'm trying to invest in Monero stock, but my app is saying it's unavailable. Can you tell me what's going on? No, I don't even know what app you're using, and I wouldn't be familiar with it if you did, so I'm not sure why the app is not working. You've got to contact the app developer. Comment, if you will, about Bitcoin banks. Do they hold your Bitcoin? Yeah, the answer is yes. The Bitcoin banks, they hold the Bitcoin. You're giving them control of your funds, which I don't like. And then I don't think you can use checks, which is what you ask in a second. But a lot of them, I think what they do is they'll give you a credit card. But I buy Bitcoin to hoard it. So I don't spend my Bitcoin, so I don't know about how to spend it. I can, if I want, to have a small amount in a wallet, which I hardly ever use, but it's there. Usually the only right time I lose, I give away crypto or Bitcoin, is to actually give it away, or I sell it to someone for I sell them $20 worth of Bitcoin to get them started, help them get their wallet and get them started, and then they're off and running. But I don't try and transact in Bitcoin, I just hoard it. Hey Max, thanks for the video. Oh, hang on, I missed a question. No, I didn't. My question, should we expect some big price drops for Bitcoin before the price reaches its max? Yes, there's always drops, lots and lots and lots of them. Here's my Bitcoin chart. So here's a 2017 peak, 2017. And in that year, there was a 30% drop over 10 days. There was, let's go down here. What's this one? This is a nearly 40% drop over 38 days. There's just always, it never goes straight up. Here's a 35% drop over 17 days, and there's lots of little ones here down as well. So yes, there's always pullbacks, always, always, always. I'm noticing that certain sites are offering staking positions. What are your thoughts on staking? Is this something that you recommend? Let's go, I'm going to give you guys a resource here, decryptionary.com. It's a cryptocurrency dictionary. You go there, you type in the word, and this time I typed in stake. Stake is defined as an amount of cryptocurrency deposited by the user as collateral. For some cryptocurrencies, the stake is a requirement to become a miner. So so what cryptocurrencies are trying to do, if you develop a coin, you've created a new cryptocurrency, you don't want people selling it. So what you want to do is you want them to maybe stake it, put it on the blockchain, make it a little bit like lock it up for 6 months. Buy my coin, lock it up for 6 months, and I will, what will I do? I will incentivize you to do that. I might pay you an interest rate. If you lock up enough, I might let you be a miner so you can get mining fees. They offer all these incentives to get you to lock up your coins so that you can't sell them. If you were going to hold them anyway and you think you'll benefit from the reward they're trying to give you, it's a reasonable strategy. Most of them do them on-chain, which means it's very secure. You're not giving up your private keys. You're not sending the keys to your coin to the developer. You're doing it on-chain, and so your coins are never at risk. It's a pretty safe thing usually, and that's what staking is. I got no problem with it. It's a fine strategy. Where are we? Staking, okay. Do you have an alternative investment idea to saving your college, i.e. would buying $20,000 of gold and silver and stashing it away for 17 years be a good idea? Yeah, you can do that. You can buy some gold and silver, stash it away. You can buy, what can you buy? You can buy a Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. But 17 years is a long time to just like commit to never putting it and never doing it. I would review it. Like I think the Bitcoin market's going to go into a huge bubble and crash again in late 2021, maybe as late as 2023. And so before that crash, I want to sell it all and put it into something else. So I wouldn't put anything in anywhere for 17 years. I like to move it around, but if you want to, you can. What do you think of the speculation that the Federal Reserve has been taken over by the US Treasury and the dollar will once again be backed by gold? Does it affect your current strategy? I doubt that very, very much. But if that did, gold would have to be revalued at like $50,000 an ounce. And so, yeah, if that happened, that would be phenomenal for all the precious metals holders. And I think it would be pretty good for Bitcoin too. Max, if the Fed implements a digital currency linked to ID and makes Bitcoin illegal, do you have any ideas on how to handle the boarding and offboarding? No, when they do that, entrepreneurs will come in and solve the problem. You don't need to worry about selling Bitcoin, people. It's a very liquid thing. Max, thanks for the generous gifts and your time. I'm curious to know who are some of the people that you listen to and trust. What are some sites and channels that you tune into regularly? And what are some of the must-read books and your mentors? Thanks. Hey, TH, that's a very cool question. Thank you. Two sites that I visit religiously every single day. ZeroHedge.com, it's my favorite news source site, all economic news. Helps me just keep ahead of trends and up to date about what's going on in the world, economically and politically. And then the other site I view religiously is thedonald.com. It's a pro-Trump site, but you don't need to try hard to get leftist news. You're standing in the line in the grocery store, you're reading all the headlines in the newspaper, you're driving in the car, you're hearing it on the radio, you're sitting in the airport, you're watching CNN. You don't have to try to get leftist news. It's going to hit your brain no matter what. You have to try extremely hard. In fact, there's literally one place on the internet I know where to get it from, and that's thedonald.win. And that way I get the balanced view. So I always go and check thedonald.win. And so it's www.thedonald.win. It's a fantastic site it gives you the other perspective. Channels, a few shout outs here. I like Mike Maloney. I listen to Mike Maloney, Peter Schiff, Harry Dent. I listen to them a lot. Was it Raul Paul or something? That guy. I listen to him a bit. Who else do I do? On the crypto side, I like Altcoin Daily. I like cryptocurrency. No, what's it called? Crypto Crew University. Who else do I like in that world? Ivan on Tech. Ivan on Tech's got a really good channel. I like Ivan. So they're the major sites/channels that I watch. Must-read books. I love all the classics like Hyatt, Road to Serfdom, all that kind of stuff. All those good old school Austrian textbooks. I like those. Who are your mentors? No one I know. No one you would know specifically. It's like not famous people. But I would say I have a very important mentor acquiring strategy. I think mentors are brilliant. Have them as best you can, as many as you can. Be very, very specific. My qualification for a mentor is I only choose a mentor who has achieved the exact result I want. They had to achieve the result I wanted in the time frame I wanted, and preferably in the same era, recently, not 50 years ago. I have that. That is like my rule. And then I only listen to them about what they have to say about that domain that they're an expert in. I don't ask them to tell me how to do other things. I only want their advice in what they've got results in. The truth is in the result, the rest is ego. And one of my very first mentors said that, but you wouldn't know his name. But I got a funny, just a little anecdote of this. I had my nieces and nephews, they came swimming with me at Bondi Beach in Australia, and I swam on this beach every day for 10 years. And they're getting thrown around like crazy in the way. And I'm saying, guys, you got to come out like 20, 30 feet more or 10 meters more. Like you got to come to where I am. And they're just not listening to me. It's driving me crazy. And they're just getting hammered by waves. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? Like, you got to, said, Mum said it was dangerous, and I had to stay close to shore. And I was like, your mum's fantastic, my sister, but you got to choose your mentors better. Your mum has never swam in this beach in her life. She's never been to a beach in her life, to my knowledge. And you do not listen to this wonderful woman about where to be in the beach. This is my beach. I swim here every day. If we go 20 meters that way, you're going to be standing knee deep. Right here, you are in a channel and you're getting smashed to bits and you're almost exhausted and almost drowned. So let's go. So shout out to my sister there, love her, but choose your mentors wisely. One more question. Let's say I've decided to buy about $200,000 in Bitcoin. I'm thinking not to make one trade, but to buy in several chunks over the next few days and or weeks. Obviously buying the dips would be ideal. So how would you acquire your Bitcoin? So kind of answered it before. If I had none, I'd be super scared. I'd buy about half now, but I'm pretty confident there's going to be one more big crushing blow to all of the markets. And I would keep some powder in the keg, as they say, dry powder in the keg, and I would save it for a big dip to buy the rest of it. Hey Max, thank you for your bit. But yes, like I said, just if that dip never happens, you're like, Max Wright's an asshole. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just telling you what I think. Hi Max, thanks for the video. What's your thoughts on holding crypto in several different accounts if you're planning to invest, say, $250,000? So I assume you mean in several different wallets. And so, by the way, and thank you for the recommendation there for Kraken. It looks like it's a good fit for your level account. Okay, great. I'm glad you're having a good experience with Kraken so far. What are your thoughts on? So it's quite nerve-wracking holding a large sum of Bitcoin. There's no forgot password. If you screw it up, if you lose something, if your backups get lost in a fire, you're done. The money's gone. You're not getting it back. And it's quite nerve-wracking. And I can only imagine it's 5 times more nerve-wracking to have 5 of them. I just have like one, the big one, and I have it set up. I think I've told you guys before, because I'm a public figure, I don't have it with me. I've got to fly around the world to 3 different continents to get it and assemble the private keys because they're scattered out over in different vaults around the world. You guys, if you don't do that, if you're not a public person like me, I don't recommend you do that, but that's what you could do. But I would say just have it in one wallet, have several backups in several different locations, have them in a fireproof safe. You can buy little fireproof safes for like, just in case your house burns down or floods, a waterproof safe, stuff like that. Have it at maybe your house and maybe a trusted relative's house, something like that. But I would do it all in one wallet and have multiple backups. Can you elaborate more on how to invest $5,000 to produce 100K? I mean, I did a whole seminar on this where I teach this, but I'll do it in a few sentences. Buy Bitcoin today. I believe it's going to go up about 20x in the next 1.5 to 2 years. In that same 2 years, real estate's going to crash. Sell your Bitcoin at the top, buy real estate at the bottom, and you will be buying $100,000 per year in income, I believe. Take your Bitcoin profits and buy that. I think it's going to work out pretty good for you. Do you see Hashgraph as a threat to Bitcoin? No. The reason being is there's no incentive, there's no profit incentive to own Hashgraph. To my knowledge, it's not like you own Bitcoin, the more people use it, the price goes up, you could become rich. Hashgraph, you get involved in the Hashgraph universe and what do you get? I mean, nothing, like whatever. It's tragedy of the commons. There might be some benefit to society about this new cool technology, but who's incentivized to work on it, buy it, acquire it, hold it, use it? I don't see the incentive there. For those just entering crypto, would it be better to buy immediately at current prices or wait for a dip? Just answered that question. Good question, but I just answered it. Thank you, Max. I always appreciate your wisdom. My question is basic. I'm wondering which exchange is best for me to use to purchase Bitcoin. I started with the Exodus wallet, or is there some other exchange to remain anonymous? to buy Bitcoin. If you want to remain anonymous, the best chance I can give you is localbitcoins.com. Otherwise, you're going to get your AML, KYC, all that stuff is going to have to go through. So yeah, great question, Crypto. Hard to the video. Sorry about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen the crypto market dip every year around December. I'm going to skip here, because I've read the question before. So yes, around December and around April, I've noticed are always not very good months. March, April. And I think the reason is it's always to do with the tax year for Americans and the Northern Hemisphere. So around December, people are like, oh, if I had a big windfall, if I sell my crypto now and it's at a loss, I can realize those losses, offset my taxes, do something like that. So there's some kind of like managing your tax system just before the end of year and wanting to trigger a taxable event before the end of the year. And then again, there's another one coming through in around April, just before April when taxes are due. Some people have to sell their Bitcoin to pay their taxes. And so I noticed two dips there. And so yes, it's something to be aware of. I was thinking of cashing out at 14,500 and 19K and buying the dip. Yeah, it's a reasonable strategy. I'm not going to mess with that. But just so people know, I've got my lines of resistance here, 13,928 and 19,798. They're the 2 points of resistance above this current one that we're battling with, which is 11,916. So once we break through those, we're in clear skies at all-time highs. And yeah, if you think it's going to hit there, sell at the top, it's going to bounce back a little bit, buy in. It's called scalping. You might be able to scalp a few points as you wish. It's a perfectly reasonable strategy. I don't do it, but there's nothing wrong with it. Okay. Thanks, Max. Did I just do that? No, here we go. Do you consider gold to be on the high side right now? If you are new to the precious metals market, would you go into gold or silver now as the foundational investment? Also, do you consider muni bonds as a safer market investment? My advisor has me heavily invested in muni bonds as a conservative financial foundation. How do you think muni bonds will fare with the upcoming financial changes? Thank you, Max. Thank you, me. Okay. Right now, so it's the gold-silver ratio is what determines whether or not I buy gold or silver. If it's like over kind of 50, I'm going to be buying silver. If it's less than 50, I might be buying a mix. If it's less than like 35, I'd probably be buying gold only. Something along those lines. Okay, that's the gold-silver ratio. Just divide the price of one to the other. That's how you get the gold-silver ratio. So right now I'll be buying silver. Muni bonds. So I think muni bonds are fine. It's quite a conservative financial instrument. That's cool. The only real risk you have with muni bonds is the dollar. If you've got muni bonds, you are inherently invested in US dollars. And if the US dollars get smashed, the value of those things get down compared to other things. So if we come down here, I'm going to pull my chart up now for, it's got too many things here, it takes forever. DXY, and this is the value of the US dollar. You'll see the value of the US dollar has really taken a beating the last couple of months. And so if you're in muni bonds, you're exposed to the US dollar. That's just something to consider. But otherwise, muni bonds are a pretty safe bet. But after this but I think bonds will get hit pretty hard. I would definitely be choosing real estate. I'd be definitely choosing cryptocurrency and precious metals. Thanks again, Max, for your wisdom. What do you see as the biggest obstacle for Bitcoin in the future? Fees, adoption, negative attention from governments. Yeah, the volume works for you. Fees and adoption. Adoption's no problem. Fees, I think it's going to get solved here. I think the fees are going to be fine. I'm not too concerned about the fees. Negative government from governments, and by negative attention, you mean laws punishing people for using it. That's probably the biggest one. I think, but like I said, that stuff's going to happen. But if that were to happen, things are so bad in the world that people have just completely lost faith in their governments. We're in serious crisis mode. We look like Venezuela, and people are just going to do it anyway because they know they can't touch fiat because it's going to be a disaster. Thank you, Max. How do I get Bitcoin off a nano wallet for use or trade without going through exposed exchanges? The only way to not go through an exposed exchange is to go to localbitcoins.com Give them a shot, do your research there, and make sure you're only dealing with someone who has a very, very large positive rating and like 1,000+ transactions. Another way to do it is you can go to a meetup in your town. Go to like a cryptocurrency meetup, go to meetup.com, look for a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency or an altcoin meetup. Go there, and there's lots of just, hey, I'm looking to sell some Bitcoin. Anyone want to trade? I can bring some cash next month, or bring some precious metals next meeting, or whatever stuff. You can often find people to sell your Bitcoins at those meetups. I have silver split between USA, locked in a Brinks Vault, Utah through gold silver, good option, so do I, and moving soon to another Western country. I can take under 10K in metals across the border without declaring in my hand luggage. Should I leave the rest of the metals in the USA or ship them to a new country after using something like a FedEx as an option? Will I likely be stung, confiscated with a big tax shipping it to the new country? So shipping metals is a nightmare. Can it be done? Yes. And for whatever reason, I've got in my head UPS does it easier than FedEx. I could be wrong on that. It's a nightmare. It's just an absolute nightmare. And it's just, if it were me, I would just sell the metals, turn it into fiat, and rebuy the metals on the other side. That's what I would do, because it is a nightmare. Also, leaving the metals is a pretty decent idea as well. But look, you're asking the questions, you understand the risks, and there's a small premium, like there's a cost of doing these things, and you just got to decide if those costs are worth it to you. And it looks like we're done. So, all right, guys, I'm sorry if my tone was a little bit curt there towards the end, but there's about 40 minutes of video I had to do twice because something didn't work. But love you guys. I am going away. I'm going on a holiday this weekend, so it might be 2 weeks until I do the next Q&A. But I will see you soon, and keep an eye out on YouTube. I'm going to be releasing just some general free information YouTube stuff. I haven't posted a YouTube video that was not a members only Q&A for a couple of weeks. And yeah, so guys, also this one is public, so please subscribe, like the button, smash the like button, do all the good things if you haven't done those things yet. I really appreciate it. Take care, and I will see you soon. Bye.